Hello, folks. I'm Mal, and I'm here with my buddy Hadrian. What's going on, Hadrian?
Hey everyone, I'm doing fine. How are you, man?
I'm good. So I guess today we're going to talk about Early Access 6.
Because it just came out.
It did just come out. It just came out today, which is, for point of reference, July 21st?
Yes.
Which is weird, because, I mean, maybe I'm just not remembering this correctly. Don't they normally release on Fridays?
True.
Yeah,
I don't know that
like
they've ever had like that much regularity, but maybe by sheer coincidence, most of their
they
stuff
just
comes
happen
out.
to get pushed out on Fridays, yeah.
Or they dedicate a work week to finishing it up, so it happens to come out on a Friday. That's probably what happened.
Could
so
have
they might
been,
have
yeah.
been able to push this one out a little sooner, which could be a good sign. Could be a bad thing. We'll see. We've got patch notes to go over.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, folks. But
yeah,
we want to bear in mind that some stuff we can show you, and some stuff we can't, because a lot of it is. Matter of fact, I'd say the bulk of it is, I guess we'd classify as under the hood, right?
right.
So
And that's how they would describe it, I think. I believe I saw a developer or two describing it that way when the patch notes were released. I mean, it's stuff that... I mean, as we mentioned, or as we will mention, because you haven't seen this episode yet, some of these changes did creep in to the final episode of Metal and Stone. And
Metal and Stone.
Metal and Stone! Hey, we said we're going to say it one more... Or, I thought we were done saying it, but we got to say it one more time.
One more time.
So, some of the changes crept in, and... you know, we observed that they were more visible, perhaps, than some of the under-the-hood changes that were in Early Access 5 and Early Access 4, because they've been changing a lot. But as we've discussed in previous videos, you know, there's this tone among certain constituents in the community that's just like, oh, nothing's changing. But it's just because everything's been so deep under the hood. They've been making changes to the way the AI behaves. They've been making changes to the way the base mechanics of the game run to make everything run in a more complex and interesting way from a strategic point of view. And so now, one of the really cool things about this patch is it's still under the hood, but I really think that the changes, from what I've seen, are closer to the surface, to where you can see things more. There are some refinements to the the UI, which we're going to go over, which look really nice. And of course, other things as well, but just lots of things that you can see that are improvements that'll make you go, oh, wow, this is cool. And it's really kind of sparked a renewed interest in really chasing down all of the new features, which I think is a positive thing.
I think it's interesting that most of the bulk of the patch notes are about the different, like you were talking about, the different changes to the AI, which we're going to go over in some detail as we go through this. But the UI refinements and there's a lot of them are subtle changes, but it just looks, I think the word I came up with when I was thinking about this earlier is that it's polished.
Yes.
Like you could see that we're close to.
You got me excited for a second, though, dude. I thought you were literally going to come up with a new word. I thought you were going to add something to the dictionary to describe this new patch of Master of Orion.
I'm just going with polish. Well, let's jump in with we're sitting here on the multiplayer screen because we wanted to talk about the new game pace feature, and so this is. I think for you and I, we kind of found the settings that we liked.
Yes, we already tweaked this stuff down on the bottom.
Yeah, but now if you want to,
if you're not one of those people,
if you're not one of those people and you just like, okay, I want a really fast game, then you can click lightning, and it'll automatically change to fast, very fast, or you can go quick, heroic, so on and so forth. You can click on the game pace, and it'll change it below.
Yeah, and actually, come to think of it, if you want to think of a quick. No pun intended, a quick parallel. I have mentioned in a lot of my Master of Orion content that one of the reasons this game is so easy to pick up is one game that most of us in our corner of the market, whether you're a Let's Player or not, have played is Civilization, especially Civilization 5, the most recent one. And there are some mechanics that I think Master of Orion very lovingly borrows and does it well. And this is actually another one of those. In Civ 5, you have game difficulty, right, as you do here in Master of Orion, but you also have game speed. And those things have already been there. There's been research speed, and there's production speed, which I have also noted is actually not customizable in Civilization 5, and I hope they do have that customizable in Civilization 6 later this year. But so those settings have already been there, but this actually allows you, like Mal was saying, to just change a setting and say, I want a quick game, I want a normal pace game, which is classic, or I want a game that takes a really long time, which would be the equivalent of something like Marathon or Epic, for those of you who have played Civilization 5. So if you've never played Civilization, what I'm talking is complete hogwash, but the point is it's a really easy way to just quickly change the pacing of the game without having to tweak the advanced settings if you're not that type of player, which is nice.
And maybe I'm just spacing this out, but wasn't it slow, normal, fast? Because I don't remember very slow or very fast. Those are new settings.
I guess so. Yeah. Since you're hosting the game right now, I'm at the mercy of what you want to tweak. But you say the options are slow, normal, and fast for difficulty.
It's very slow, normal, fast, and very fast. So there's 5 categories that you can tweak under advanced settings now.
Oh, under advanced settings. For a second, I don't know why I was thinking you were talking about difficulty, but okay, that actually is different. It was slow, normal, fast, because I remember us talking in those specific dimensions.
And it looks like they added under difficulty, there's now a very easy, so it scales from very easy to extreme, which you and I play on.
That actually makes sense to have that 5-point difficulty scale. I like that.
Pretty slick. Yeah, I like that. All right, well, I tell you what, folks, we're going to make a quick cut here in the video so that we can actually load into the game, and then we'll come back to you on the other side, and we're going to show you some of the UI changes and other things that we have discovered that we think are kind of neat along the way. Okay, so we'll see you in just a second.
Sounds like fun. See you in a bit, guys.
Okay, folks, so we're all loaded in. We're back, and we're not going to go through every bit of the patch notes. We're just going to kind of go through what we believe are the most impactful things that we've seen, and just based on our experience of playing Massive Orion, which both of us have played quite a bit of it, we can kind of anticipate what some of these changes are going to be to gameplay. There's a lot of obvious UI changes, and some of them are a little bit subtle. But
subtle,
why don't you start
but
us off with
beautiful.
that? Why don't you start us off with just a discussion about the UI changes?
Because I'm so excited about it. Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, the most obvious one, I mentioned how things there's been an extra layer of polish added, and one of the things that you can see immediately, one of the kind of under the hood changes that is visible, is you've got just so much going on as far as just the UI itself. The buttons have been polished to look a little bit more, I'm not going to say three-dimensional, but they've just had a little bit more character added to them, a little bit more highlight to where they look more polished, more like you would expect from a released version of a game. But when you go into, say, your Empire screen, now right now I just have one planet, so I can't really show you how much more has been added to this. But those little icons that pop up over your individual planets, not in this screen, but in the actual game map, when you have like pollution on a planet, or like if the pollution is so bad that the biome is about to degrade, well, now there is a little icon that actually shows here next to each world to discuss or to point out to you that change is about to happen, or that you have
like you could sort this same icon that you can use to sort by pollution. A smaller version of that will appear, like Hadrian is saying, right next to the planet. It'll also show you people that are on strike. It'll show you assimilation. It'll show you the number of
it'll show you famine.
Yep. So that's pretty cool. All status effects.
There's just so much more over the past couple of patches, really, but particularly in this patch, I feel like the Empire screen has gained a lot. Have we poked into the research screen yet? Have they changed anything here?
They changed some icons. Like, as an example, one of them that they changed was for the computer upgrades. They changed the icon for that.
These look different.
Yeah, there were some other icon changes. I don't think they changed any. I didn't see any obvious placement changes. Just the icons. Some of the icons look different and cleaner.
Yes, everything for the most part looks like the same tech tree.
Yeah, and actually, we'll get back to UI in just a second. I wish that they had moved some of the things around. Like, as an example, I still don't understand why planetary supercomputer. I mean, you're at tech victory by the time you get to this tech. Like, I don't even, plus 25 research, system unique. By the time you get this, I don't understand what the point is having it this far in the tree.
Remind me where it is, because I'm not even sure.
If you go to the very end of the tech tree, you've got evolving technologies. You go back one from transistence. Transcendence. There we go. I can see it. And then under artificial consciousness is where planetary supercomputer is.
Got it.
I really think that should be back like at least a tier or two. Otherwise, what's the point?
I mean, that big of a research bonus is pointless when you only have 3 technologies after that column to be done. So that's a good point. And that hasn't moved in a number of patches. But hey, that's that's something they can tweak. I mean, we've got plenty of positive changes aside from that.
Just one that
they're
makes me
looking
scratch my
amazing.
head. I'm like, you know, in terms
It's
of
under
the
your
polish,
skin a
it's
little
there.
bit.
Well, I think probably too, because in previous iterations of the game,
Mm-hmm.
that tech was way earlier in the tree. So it's just sort of like that's the Mewtwo in me. That's the Mewtwo guy in me. I'm sorry. It bugs me.
Yeah, of
But
course.
it's looking, just in general, getting back to the UI, you're right. It's looking pretty slick.
Yes.
And when you talked about the buttons, like when you click on your fleet and whatnot, did you notice too that just that whole fleet box now there's like a transparency there? You can like see through to the galaxy.
I like it.
I like
nice.
that a lot.
Yep. Just subtle little changes to make the game as pretty as you would expect 2016, space 4X like this to be. It's got everything you need. It's starting to get everything you need anyway. It looks awesome. Blueprints also. Forgot about this. So they've changed ship design to blueprints. Are you looking at this too, Mal?
I am looking at it, and
Awesome.
there's a button, since we don't have any new tech because this is our first game.
Of course not.
Underneath where it says upgrade, there's actually another button that will appear, and that's
It's
upgrade
beautiful.
all. It's
It
really
makes me
slick.
so happy.
Matter of fact, I'll try to insert a screenshot here if I can, but it's really slick. And at least in the couple of tests that I did on another save game, is it me, or does it seem like it's smarter about apply? Like it was already improved in EA5 in terms of like preserving your design, but it seems like in EA6 it does an even better job when you do the upgrade all.
Yeah,
it upgrades all your ship designs and seems to keep them sort of like how you wanted them.
Yeah, well, just for example, I mean, this is not something we can literally show on the screen because we weren't recording at the time. But before we recorded the very last episode of Metal and Stone, Metal and Stone, yeah,
Metal
that
Stone.
one. That was not planned. Before we recorded that, we were playing around with the new AI, and we did go ahead and hit the upgrade all buttons before we were recording, before we even realized that we wouldn't be able to keep going with the series, which. Spoiler alert. That's gonna happen.
Oops. It was basically done. It was basically done.
Yeah, you'll see it. We still
see this
capped
video,
it.
and then so we have many Metal and Stone videos to come. But wait, don't worry.
Yeah.
It's clear the outcome. We're okay. We don't want to spoil
It's
it
good.
for you.
Yeah,
It's
a fun ending too, guys. It's a fun ending too. But anyway,
I'm not saying whether we won or not, but I will say it's fun.
Before we recorded the last episode of that, we were playing around with it, and we hit the upgrade all button, and there was an immediately noticeable uptick in all of our ships, particularly offensive power. Did you see that it was mostly in offense, or was it also in defense, Mal?
It was mostly in offense, and like I said, though, it wasn't overriding. A lot of times when you have multiple upgrades, it'll just, even though in EA5 it sort of preserved your design, in EA6 the just kind of playing around with it a little bit, it seemed like it did a better job of saying, oh, okay, he really wanted to keep those graviton cannons, so we'll keep those, and then if there's extra space, we'll add in some other stuff. But like it didn't, like as an example, here's something I noticed. So instead of replacing like mass drivers that are point defense with laser cannons, which once you have laser cannon modification tech, it would just overwrite mass drivers, and you're like, no, I still want my mass drivers because they're shield piercing and they don't have range dissipation. Let me keep them. But it would overwrite them because the damage per second on the laser cannons was better once you had the modifications. So the game was seeing that as better. In the reality, conditionally, it's not. They're not better than mass drivers. So the fact that it didn't overwrite them, that was the first time it didn't.
Which was
tells
really
me
nice.
That that's a nice, like, just refinement change that they made in EA6.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome to see, and I bring this up because, again, those of you who have watched my Terrible Terran series, and this might have happened in some of your series too. Maybe not, because you don't auto upgrade as much as I do. I think you like to do your manual upgrades a little bit more. But in the Terrible Terran series, the upgrade actually dramatically nerfed my Titans of all ships. Like they were miserable. I even fought a battle with them where I was just sitting there watching them like plink at a starbase with incredibly inferior weapons, and I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" So this is something that I feel like will completely reverse that, and the upgrading is going to be a lot smarter going forward, which is just a great change to have.
They also made some changes to battle pods. So yeah, it still gives you plus 50% additional space, but the cost associated with it changes by ship class, whereas it used to just scale through the same for all of them.
Mhm.
So basically, the way it plays out game impact wise, because in my Let's Play and even in our Let's Plays together, we kind of beelined it to battle pods because it's a huge upgrade, right?
Yes.
So it's definitely good, and it's still good. However, for like frigates and destroyers, it doesn't provide, for lack of a better way to say it doesn't provide the same economy of scale. So like it costs so much to put them in that it's not really worth it anymore on frigates or destroyers, and it's really designed more for like cruiser classes and up, which makes sense. That's a good change.
Right.
Other kind of gameplay mechanic changes, they lower the cost of terraforming to the next level. You and I actually just talked about that in the Metal and Stone series. We were talking about how you terraform a planet, and if it's barren, you might as well just leave it that way, because by the time you're done getting it to like a Terran biome, you've spent so much production.
Right.
It just wasn't worth it to terraform. It was like a pointless tech.
Right.
Those are smart gameplay changes, in my opinion.
Yes. And again, they're still kind of, as the devs have said, under the hood, but that's a much more obvious positive change than some of the stuff we've seen. And I'm not saying there haven't been obvious positive changes, but again, there's been this undertow among some people in the community of just like, oh, I can't tell the difference. But this is where you're really starting to see some of the work that they've been doing with early access 4 and 5 building up, and now we've got these awesome differences compared to, say, early access 3.
Well, or even in just like quality of life. Like if you right now, I'm zeroing in on the one colony I have, right? The capital. So it's a star over the top, which indicates that it's a capital, and then right next to it, there's like a little cross. I mean, it's not a cross, but it kind of looks like a cross. Mm-hmm. And that indicates that there's a starbase present, which is great, because before you'd have to like cycle. Once you had a bunch of colonies, you'd have to cycle through and you'd be like, okay, does this place have a starbase? Does this place have a starbase? Especially when you're like hungry for more command points and you're like, oh, I need another starbase. Where can I build that? There was no real quick way other than cycling through all of your colonies and looking at the actual planet level details to find it. There was no visual cue. So now those are really small little changes that make, I think, a big impact.
And hey, I just noticed something else. This is another graphical change, but and I actually have never ever once until this moment played as the Cylon. I played against them multiple times, but because I haven't played as them, I'm not familiar with their bonuses. They have a research bonus though, don't they?
They do. Yep.
So here's something that's kind of cool, and this might have already been there, so this might not actually be new, but there's a little but they've added a lot of background effects, so I feel like this is probably new. The scientists have this little blue effect behind them to show that they're generating extra research, in addition to the 2+ research, which probably has been there because of their bonus. Has that been there already? Have I just missed over that?
No, I think that's new. And when you hover over the population now, it also lists if you've got some kind of detriment. Like an example, because I just fired up as the Darlock, racial trait -2.
Yep.
So total output 2. That's all I'm getting from this particular fellow. And if I hover over population, if I hover over any of these cells, I can actually get details, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, maybe, I don't know. Like, I'll need to look at the Cylon. I might be making a fool of myself right now because I haven't played as the Cylon. But like, if I'm looking at the Cylons,
but is that a
traits,
bonus? I wonder if that highlight is because of that or because you have artifacts homeworld.
It's that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like it's just because it might not be a Cylon research bonus per se. But anyway, the point is there's an effect. There's an effect to demonstrate. You can just see, oh yeah, on this planet in particular, we're getting a research bonus, which is nice.
Now I'm looking over some of the other notes. Let's see.
I was thinking we could talk about AI next, because there's a chunk of AI changes.
Yeah, there's a chunk of stuff.
That's something we're really passionate about, is having a smart AI. So I think people watching might just be more likely to want to hear that from us than the average Master of Orion player. Do you want to go over some of those?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so some of the things that Hadrian is talking about is that the AI is supposed to make smarter decisions in terms of not only diplomacy and how it deploys itself, but in particular when it comes to which planet it's going to take. And we saw a little bit of that in EA5 after the last hot patch, which I would kind of consider like early access 5.5. That's basically what it was. Yeah, I mean, really, that's what it was. So it was already making smarter choices, but they made some additional changes to the way the AI looks at the galaxy map and selects its colonies. And it's supposed to still be very territorial. And speaking of territorial, now when you fire up a new game, the AI... this remains to be seen whether or not this is good for people like us that play on the higher difficulty.
I'm so scared about this.
They automatically will spawn the AI that's most likely to be hostile to your empire right next to you on the galaxy map.
Brutal.
So you're gonna have you're gonna have threat right in your face right off the bat. I don't know. What do you think about that change?
Yeah. Well, honestly, like, it's brutal and it's scary, and I think it'll definitely, for those of us who want a challenge, I think it'll be good. I don't know that I'm a huge fan of it being compulsory, where it happens every single time and it's just automatic. I think there should be a flag for that. Yes, there should be a setting because look, a lot of the times, when I started doing YouTube, I automatically realized, okay, well, when we do these Let's Plays, there's this desire, like, of course you want it to be entertaining, but also, like, because you're paying so much attention to every decision you're making, because you're having to describe it for the most part, you start to put more energy into the game, and there's this natural desire for a higher difficulty setting. That definitely happened to me. And so, I mean, I totally do enjoy the challenge, particularly because I do YouTube videos, but at the same time, before YouTube, a lot of the times when I would play strategy games, and I know a lot of the people out there are this way, I actually wouldn't play on really high challenge, because when I would play strategy games, I would play for like the narrative, and I would play for the story, and I would play for the experience of establishing these empires. And sometimes I didn't want it to be really hard. I didn't want it to be super challenging. And at the very least, I wanted to have control over it so that when I wanted the challenge, I could have it. So that's something that I hope, like you say, I hope they have a flag in the future, because I think there's some people listening right now that are going like, hell yeah, Hadrian, thank you for saying that, because a lot of people do occasionally just want to chill and have a more relaxed experience. And if it's automatically going to put a really challenging opponent, even when you have the difficulty set to lower next to you every time, that could ruffle some feathers. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, so no, I think I like it that it's there. I agree with you. I don't want it to be compulsory. Hopefully they'll add the option, and we certainly can give that feedback. Not that they'll necessarily listen to us, but we can certainly try, right? I mean,
we can kick and scream and throw a tantrum.
I mean, I've been begging for ship veterancy and colony leaders and ship leaders, and I don't know that those will make it. At least not immediately. I don't think that'll make it into the game. But it really seems to me, based on conversations that we've had with the devs, that we are getting closer to release, and when that's going to be exactly, we're not sure, but they already have plans for post-release and, more improvements and more patches. And then at some point, some DLC. But I like the fact that at least what they're saying now is that they're going to continue to improve the game based on feedback they get from everyone. And they're not, I don't anticipate now. Somebody might come back screaming at me later about this, but I don't anticipate any kind of like day one DLC shenanigans. I don't see this developer doing that.
Well, speaking of DLC, I was actually about to say, did you notice what they've done with DLC today? Have you looked at Master of Orion on the store page?
I didn't. Mm-mm.
Okay, well, actually some of you listening might have seen this already, but let me educate you, sir. When you go to the store page on Steam for Master of Orion, the Terran Continent and the pixelated ships, the classic ships option that's been in here since the beginning of early access, are now DLCs. Now for us, because we're early access customers, as are the rest of the players that are watching this, assuming you own the game if you're watching this, which not all of you do, for those of us who have been playing early access, we already have those DLCs. They are showing as already installed, but they are showing as separate, broken out DLCs now. So whether they'll be day one...
How much is the Terran Connate, though?
I didn't look at the prices. That's the one thing I don't know. Okay. I don't know whether they're priced DLC or what, but they are definitely building in a DLC model.
Because we don't know what the price point is yet either. But
no.
I know that the price point for the retail version, for the non-early access version, is actually going to be lower than what you and I paid to get into this.
Bastards.
Yeah, right. How dare they? How dare they monetize the thing they made? But
I'm just kidding, y'all. I love you.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that, because we got it right because we were in the early access and paid for that. So I'm actually okay with that. I'm okay with
Totally
that.
okay with it. Yeah, me too.
But I'm talking about like additional content day one DLC. I don't think we're gonna see
Right,
that stuff.
right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that that was addressed because I mean I think it's cool to see the DLC model already starting to develop and kind of seeing some of the stuff that might be DLC, whether it's paid or not. Is accessible to the early access customers already. That makes you feel like we've, like you said, that we've paid for it.
Right.
Which is
Exactly.
good.
In terms of the other AI changes, the AI is supposed to make smarter choices now too about what it's doing when it goes to a state of war. Like, it's not, as an example, the AI is not supposed to have planets working on terraforming when they're at war, which it would
Right.
do before. Which actually for you and I is going to have some interesting implications, because it's not like the AI on Extreme didn't already have like a ridiculous sort of war machine in terms of cranking out ships. So that one line there has got me worried about that balance. I'm a little bit scared about that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean they've made a couple of behavior changes. One of the ones, I think this is the one they mentioned on Twitter, and I actually asked them about it because this is another thing that I would hope would have some variance, if not in this patch, down the line. But the AI now focuses on colony expansion in their early stages before they start to really sink population into research. So they're going to try. I'm assuming that means, I don't know. Actually, looking at this note now I'm curious because they say colony expansion. So that could refer both to establishing new colonies, which makes sense for the AI to do early on. They branch out and they colonize. But also colony expansion could refer to having population in food as opposed to research, letting the colonies grow themselves. So there's micro and macro expansion. So I'm actually kind of wondering, do you have any more insight on like what that note is specifically referring to for people?
I don't. We'll just have to play and see. And we've only had hands on for a limited amount of time. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. I want to see what the impact is to the first 50 turns. And right now, I don't know what I don't know. But I would suspect that means the possibility that you would have less aggression in the first 50 turns. Because as it stood before EA6, you saw your first wars, your first declaration of wars would break out before turn 65.
Yes.
And now I'm thinking with these AI changes, we may, as long as you don't encroach on their territory, we may not see that. Like maybe it'll go back to the way it was before, where you really didn't see that first serious aggression until like turn 100. That's what I think. But again, this is just me theorizing.
Right.
And then the other things that they changed, they did a balance pass too. They changed the way shield and armor scales. They changed the Alkari. They rebalanced them so they would build heavier ships. They changed the Guardian. They made the Guardian weaker.
What?
Yeah, they made the Guardian weaker, which actually is a huge gameplay change potentially, because now
it'd be more accessible to the AI.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. But also, on the flip side, it might also mean that, there used to be an old strat for Master of Orion 2 where you would get certain special weapons and you would go after the Guardian like at the mid game. And if you got that, then you got the win, like the Guardian Rush. But maybe now Guardian Rush will be plausible in this version of Master of Orion. It looks like maybe that might be the case.
Maybe so.
And then they've continued. I don't ever play with pirates because I think they're stupid, but that's my technical analysis of it.
Right.
But they've continued to change the pirates. Now it's directly connected to difficulty, and they're not supposed to totally screw over the AI, which is the reason why I didn't play with them, because the pirates, a lot of times, beyond being a nuisance to the human player, more often was a help to the human player, because they could dang near destroy an AI in the early game because the pirates weren't balanced right. That's why I never wanted to use them.
So, are you saying you might try pirates in a future Let's Play?
I might. Who knows? I've played with them. I've played with them enough, not recording, to know that I didn't want them in gameplay. But when I do some more test runs, I may very well enable them and just play through like the first 100 turns. And I'm gonna do a couple of runs to up to 100 turns just to see what the implication is of these AI changes. And I'm gonna try privately anyway to play as the Darloks because I've tried a
Mm-hmm.
couple. I tried a couple of times on EA5 on Extreme to play the Darloks to victory, and I didn't record it, and it was let's just say it was painful.
Yeah, that's the word I was about to
Painful
go
playing
for.
them. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've heard that from multiple people, including commenters on YouTube and just people I've interacted with on social media. So hopefully that's something that will be a little bit different in EA6. Is there a particular change that you're thinking will really help them with that? I mean, I know I know like spies or something that they're going to continue to improve, so that's going to affect the Darlock down the line. But
right, yeah, no, they'll be. I know for a fact that they've got some other things planned, but I'm not at liberty to say details. But I think that if, and again, I'm theorizing, but if early aggression changes from turn 60-65 to back to turn 100. Which I think with these changes that might be the case, but again, I need to test it. But if that happens, then the Darloks maybe do have a chance on higher difficulties. The reason they don't have any chance right now is because they have no infrastructure bonuses, right? They don't have any additional production. They don't have any additional research or growth. So they're kind of screwed out of the gate. And their advantages come from the behind-the-scenes manipulation they can do. So if you can get a spy center early enough with them by, like, say, turn 45... and get the first few spies done, you make contacts with other races, and if they don't declare war on you because of the way the AI's mentality has changed, then you'll have an opportunity, hopefully, to get your first round of espionage missions complete, and maybe you can get the other AIs to go to war with each other. Like, if you could, by turn 100, if you could be the one that orchestrates the wars, then the Darloks have a chance. If that's not still in there, if that's not balanced, then, it's still going to be a useless race to play.
Right. So I'm noticing that we are approaching the 30-minute mark for this video. Let's take a look at some of the other, like, really big things that we might not have covered yet. There is one thing I want to mention really quick before we jump into some of the stuff that we can maybe wrap up with in covering, the content of this latest patch in Master of Orion. But have you noticed that there's now a confirmation for declaring war?
Well, they put that in.
So...
they put that in. That was called the Hadrian button. They put that in specifically for you. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe it's just a coincidence that they put that in, declaration of war confirmation. Maybe it is, but I think it's funny.
I don't think it was a coincidence.
Destroy me in our multiplayer. Right. They're like, hey, maybe we need that confirmation button because of Hadrian's quick on the draw there.
I wasn't even quick on the draw. I wasn't even paying attention. I'm just going to click this button. Oh, we're at war.
This button looks good. Let's go to war, Mal. I was like, which everybody wants us to for whatever reason.
Yeah, it wouldn't work in a Let's Play. Wouldn't work. Stop asking.
Why don't you do it? I don't understand. Yeah, exactly. I'm not seeing anything. I mean, well, there's other cool stuff like they're putting in. They put in achievements. There's new cutscenes for the ending. I mean, there's lots of other cool stuff.
Yes.
But I don't see any other really big things. And if you want to look at the patch notes, there'll be a link in the description below these videos where you can go look at these, in depth. Where, the idea of this is have a discussion about this, not to regurgitate every line.
Yeah, and depending on what. The patch notes are broken up into sections too, so it's not like you're just reading a bunch of bullet points. Don't get me wrong, it's a bunch of bullet points. But if you are the kind of person like Mal and me that is interested in AI changes in particular, there's an AI section. We were reading heavily from that one. But also, if you are the kind of person who really likes these games to look polished and refined, there's a whole section, and there are things we did not talk about that are really good. UI changes, user interface changes that you're going to want to see. I talked about some of the most obvious ones, like the way the buttons look, but look at these patch notes and really digest it. I think you mentioned one of my favorite changes that we're not going to be able to show in this video because it's there specifically for victories, but they've added more cutscenes, which I really do hope they continue to add more and more cutscenes down the line. Maybe hopefully there'll be more in the release version as well, but the cutscenes in this game are one of my favorite things about Master of Orion when you colonize a planet. But now there are cutscenes, as Mal mentioned, when you win the game for certain victory types. It's not for all victory types because I imagine they're still going to do some different cutscenes for all the victory types going forward. But for instance, when you conquer the galaxy as a particular race, you'll see a victory cutscene for that race winning the game with a conquest victory.
That's
which is
really,
awesome.
That's really cool, to have that like positive reinforcement for
Yeah.
winning. And I have to tell
what
you,
you want.
just to contrast this against Stellaris, which is a game that I keep trying to get you to play.
It's not that I own it. No, whoa,
I know.
Hold on. I would love. I just want to set the record straight so that people hearing this knows. I would love to play Stellaris. I've been wanting to for a long time. The issue is fitting it into my channel schedule. Okay, continue. Go.
All right. But people are gonna say make room. They're gonna say make room for Stellaris.
I can't make room.
Yeah, here's the thing. I really like Stellaris, and I had just finished my first playthrough like a week or so ago. And again, for point of reference, this is sort of the middle third week or so of July of 2016, and I had just finished my first playthrough, and I get to the end. It was like 55 episodes. I'm like super excited to see the end, right? Because this is a great game. It's got to have a cool cutscene, and then it's just like an in-game summary, like with some numbers on it and no cutscene. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it was kind of
paradox for you.
That's
paradox for you.
It's kind of echoed in the comments too, like, wow, they really need to, So I thought it was really cool, like, because people constantly contrast these two games because they're space strategy games coming out at roughly the same time, even though they are very different games.
Yeah,
when I saw that they
it's
added
tough
the
to contrast them.
cutscenes, yeah, when they added the cutscenes for this, though, I thought, oh, okay, that was a smart move,
Yep, definitely a smart move, and it helps set it apart. I mean, it's another reason to. I mean, like you said, I think the game should be differentiated a little bit. I think it's a shame that people compare them because they're so different. Grand Strategy is its own baby, particularly when you're talking about paradox. Good God.
Well, I mean, Stellaris is, we're kind of getting off track here, but I don't care. We'll just squeeze this
That's fine.
So,
people want to hear this stuff.
So Stellaris is a real-time 4X strategy hybrid, and Master of Orion is turn-based 4X sort of traditional space, strategy game. So
yeah, it's also smaller scale.
Yeah.
It's smaller scale by default. Every, normal map size in Master of Orion is tiny map size in Stellaris. It's just the scale is so different.
My new LP for Stellaris, I'm playing on a small map,
right?
And it's 400 stars.
Right.
I mean, it's just mind blowing.
Yeah. But to your point, Mal, I mean, for what you were saying a second ago about getting off track, for those of you who might be sitting listening to this going, why are you talking about a game called Stellaris? I'm not sorry. I'm not going to. It's actually a serious question, so I'm not going to use a mocking voice. But for those of you wondering, why are you talking about Stellaris in a Master of Orion recap? I mean, these are games that are compared a lot, and they also, Stellaris just came out, Master of Orion is just about to come out, and Master of Orion was in early access for a lot of time that Stellaris was in development. So there's been a lot of side-by-side comparison. So this is a conversation that if you haven't run into it yet on social media, or especially if you're a Reddit user, believe me, you will. People ask all the time, what should I play? Should I play Master of Orion? Should I play Stellaris?
Yeah, what are the key differences?
Conversations like this ensue.
We actually should probably do a video just about
Let's
that.
do it. Let's do it. That's actually a really good idea.
That question comes up all the time. I get asked, which game should I buy? And I'm like, honestly, both. And it really depends on your play style. I mean, I enjoy both games quite a bit. I think they're both great for different reasons. So
I'm so glad you're saying both and not both.
Yeah. So just just my thoughts on that.
I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and the guy kept saying both. And I was like, oh my God, stop. I'm not going to say who it was because he's a big YouTuber and I love him. But I was like, oh my God, nails on chalkboard. Anyway, sorry. That is what you call a sidetrack.
There you go.
All right.
It's a track, and it is on the side, and it's provided by Hadrian.
Okay, right, at this point, we're 32 minutes in. We need to stop before people just run away screaming from this insanity.
All right, folks. Well, we will continue to cover things, and Hadrian and I are going to continue to collaborate, whether it be more Master of Orion or something else.
Yeah.
You'll know when we know, but I think that there's still plans in the works there. So we appreciate all of the support. A lot of you even have watched these videos on both channels, which is great.
Which is amazing. Thank you.
That's awesome. It is. We would really appreciate it, too, if you'd hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this discussion and leave a comment below. Adrian, anything else for the folks?
Nothing really. They know comments are always welcome on both channels from me. I mean, I might hang out a little bit more talking to people on yours because you get the bulk of the comments right now, and I'm trying not to be sad about it. But it's awesome, and as long as we get feedback where we can continue to interact with you guys and put out this awesome, kind of interactive content, not only with each other but with you guys, we're going to keep doing so. Thanks so much for all the comments so far, all the support, as Mal said, and we'll see you next video.